Chapter 19, A One Love to Eat Cantonese Cuisine. The senior official from KG State came in person. After they arrived here, they asked the chef from Huashu country to cook the same dishes as yesterday. But this time, the senior official made a request. I like Chinese food very much, so I want to go and see the chef in person, okay? Alabo frowned when he heard the news. Zhang Yi is not good at cooking. If that official comes to check, wouldn't he be exposed? However, Zhang Yi was not panicked at all. If they want to see, let them come. If they can't even deal with this kind of thing, let alone go to Cage Country. Once there, this kind of thing will become more frequent, right? Olive didn't know what Zhang Yi was going to do, but seeing that his tone was so relaxed, he said, "Okay then." The senior official of Cage Country was greeted by the hotel manager and came to the kitchen, with two agents following closely beside him. Zhang Yi pretended to be nervous and waited for them with other chefs. The hotel manager is also one of our own, and everyone in the kitchen has already been greeted. Soon the official was brought to Zhang Yi. "Please cook now. Let me see your cooking skills," the middle-aged official said gently. After all, he knew that if the chef in front of him was really skilled and was favored by Commander Kenshan, he would become a big figure in the country of Cage in the future. In the kingdom of Keiji, a person's promotion depends entirely on the commander's preference. It has long been the norm to be a farmer in the morning and an emperor in the evening. "Yes, please wait a moment." Zhang Yi came to the chopping board, picked up the prepared ingredients, and started cutting vegetables. When it comes to knife skills, he has no problem at all, and his knife techniques are very skillful. Seeing him cutting vegetables, the official nodded with satisfaction. The hardest part, however, is cooking. Heat oil in a pan, but don't turn on too high heat to avoid overheating. Put in the scallions, ginger, and garlic and sauté them until fragrant. Yang Xia's voice came to Zhang Yi's ears. She was giving instructions on the spot, and Zhang Yi followed her instructions for every step. The most difficult part of cooking is controlling the heat. If you control the heat well, there will be no major problems with the taste of the dish. North Africa is poor and backward, and there are no gourmets who have ever tasted the full Manchu Han banquet. According to Xian Haixio, although Ken Shan was picky about food, he had never eaten anything really good. Otherwise, a chef like him who cooks in the construction site canteen would not have been able to gain his appreciation. Therefore, even though Zhang Yi's skills were not proficient enough, he could cook Cantonese dishes that looked pretty good by following Yang Xia's instructions and with his exquisite knife skills. The officials of KG witnessed Zhang Yi's cooking skills with their own eyes, and the smiles on their faces grew wider and wider. After tasting the meal, he called Zhang Yi directly and handed him a red envelope on the spot. It contains material exchange coupons, which are considered hard currency at the border. It's a thick stack, but it's a lot of money. "Thank you, dear sir." Zhang Yi acted like a greedy person and thanked him repeatedly. The official looked at him with satisfaction, but did not invite him directly. Instead, he left after finishing his meal. However, Zhang Yi was very confident that his food had conquered the other party. After all, they couldn't find any other chefs who could cook Cantonese food. As Zhang Yi expected, the other party then conducted a thorough investigation into his identity information. It's just that these materials have already been sorted out by the Junjing Church and the Khotan Empire. All the information on the entire line is completely in order, and they're not afraid of your investigation at all. So one day, after work, Zhang Yi was walking on the way home. When passing a road corner, two heavily dressed agents suddenly emerged from the darkness. Zhang Yi was startled, pretending to be surprised. "Who are you? What do you want to do?" The two said, "Mr. Wu Yanzu, don't be afraid. We have something to talk to you about." As he spoke, an agent took out an envelope from his arms and handed it to him. Zhang Yi took the thick envelope, felt its thickness, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face. "What do you two want to talk to me about?" "Nothing special. I just want you to cook a meal. But the process must be kept confidential, and I hope you don't disclose it to anyone else." Zhang Yi hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go with you." Immediately, two people took him to a black car. Zhang Yi got into the car. The windows were covered tightly with curtains, and there was a baffle between the front and back rows, so he couldn't see anything outside clearly. Of course, everything is under Zhang Yi's control. The car drove towards the border of KG country in the dark. Alib, who received the news, monitored this scene through satellite and said, "May God bless you to complete the mission successfully, Lord Chaos." Zhang Yi seemed to be alone, but in fact he was carrying a large family with him. The entire army was marching towards the kingdom of Cage. The car had been driving for a long time, and the road in the middle began to become bumpy. The infrastructure level of KG country is indeed worrying. Later, the car seemed to stop moving and stopped at a place. But soon after, the boom-boom sound came to my ears again. Zhang Yi couldn't see anything, but based on everything he heard from Xian Haixio, he had guessed that this was a train to the capital of KG, Presang City. "It will take a long time to get there. You can rest for a while." Zhang Yi couldn't help asking, "Are we going somewhere far away? How long will it take?" The other party did not answer directly but told him, "You will be there when you wake up after a good sleep." "If it's really that far, why don't you take a plane?" Hearing Zhang Yi's innocent words, the agent next to him couldn't help laughing. "Plane? Are you kidding? Guys like you probably haven't seen that kind of thing since the Ice Age." The two men were not on guard against Zhang Yi. After all, according to their investigation, Zhang Yi's identity was clean. He was just a second-rate chef who came to Europe from Huaxiu Kingdom many years ago and worked as a Chinese chef in a small restaurant. Well, his name is Wu Yanzu, an ordinary name. So, Wu Yanzu asked curiously, "Isn't it faster to take a plane?" He indeed didn't take that thing because it was too slow. The agent saw that Zhang Yi looked like a country bumpkin, so he started to explain things to him. Before the end of the world, planes in Cage were able to fly normally, and the accident rate was not very high. But after the end of the world, ordinary planes can't withstand long-term flights. Moreover, fuel is a huge problem. Now there is only one airport in the entire Cage country, located in Pilasang City. Only the commander-in-chief and officials with the commander's permission are qualified to use it. Zhang Yi knew that Africa was quite poor, but he didn't expect it to be this poor. But there was no choice. He had to endure the slow speed of the train and head towards the city of Pilasang. While on the way, he tried to continue communicating with the two agents. Because from the very beginning, he could see that these two men were not like the well-trained Iron Men in the movies. However, they don't know much about some of the situations in the city of Pilasang, and when they come across potentially sensitive topics, they choose to avoid them. This is quite reasonable. 3 years after the apocalypse, only a handful of people were left alive, and it was impossible to effectively train soldiers. Even in the 6 major districts of Huaxu country, each department is filled with people with connections, or because there is a real shortage of manpower, many mediocre people have to be stuffed in. This world is originally a huge makeshift team. Zhang Yi waited for 5 or 6 hours, and the bumpy ride almost broke his butt. The roads here are really bad. It feels like going back to the most remote rural suburbs of Tianhai City. Oh no, it's worse than that. The car finally stopped, and Zhang Yi was taken by 2 agents into a magnificent manor. Yes, it's a manor. It was already midnight, but the huge manor was brightly lit. You can see a huge villa in the center of the manor, which may be larger than Zhang Yi's shelter. The manor outside the villa is even larger. Although the country of KG is poor and backward, it has introduced advanced temperature isolation cover technology. The entire manor is covered with special materials, like building a super big house. Heating is provided throughout. The various flowers, plants, and trees in the manor are lush and green, and they must be trimmed every day. They are very beautiful. There is also a huge swimming pool in front of the manor. Various colored lights are hung outside the house and on the green plants, making it look like some important festival. Before Zhang Yi had time to take a closer look, he was taken to the back by the agents and made to undergo a series of inspections. Well, that involved drawing blood and stripping for an in-depth examination. Of course, Zhang Yi would never do such a thing. Not to mention that he couldn't accept someone using their fingers to perform anorectal examinations on him. Just the act of drawing blood violated his taboo. Blood is an important medium of the law of causality. If it falls into the hands of someone with powerful causal abilities, it can be life-threatening. These are certainly not problems for Zhang Yi. In a backward place like KG, the monitoring network and system were full of loopholes in front of his team, like a spider web. Once he got there, he no longer hid his abilities. Liu Karen directly hacked into the network system and took over the entire network system of KG country. It was as easy as taking a candy from your own drawer. The internet in this place is so bad that it can't be described as full of loopholes. As for the inspection process, it was Yang Xinxin who implanted false memories into the staff. So after the whole process was completed easily, Zhang Yi was sent to the kitchen and asked to cook some Cantonese dishes. Zhang Yi worked skillfully and prepared a large table of Cantonese food. These meals will be served to Commander Ken Sane's table. What Zhang Yi has to do next is to wait. Not long after, half an hour later, the captain of the royal guard, Cui Zhe, came to the kitchen with several of his men. The first time Zhang Yi saw Cui Zhe, he heard Xian Haixio's nervous voice in his ears. He is Commander Shan's confidant, a tough guy nicknamed Viper. This guy is not the fool you have seen before, but a real tough guy who is difficult to deal with. You must be careful not to let him find your flaws. Xian Haixio was extremely nervous. If he were to say who he was most afraid of in KG country, it was not the commander, but Cui Zhe. Because the commander won't pay too much attention to him. But Cui Zhe has always been ruthless and merciless when working for the commander-in-chief, leaving no room for anyone. When he and his wife fled to Hopu City, they thought they were free, but they were caught by his men. If he had not been of value to the Holy See, he would have committed suicide by now. Without Xian Haixio's reminder, Zhang Yi could realize how dangerous this man was just by seeing him. People who kill too much will have a kind of violence, which is the indifference to life. Zhang Yi also has this feeling, but he is good at disguising himself as a harmless little white rabbit, so he can hide this feeling. So when Cui Zhe arrived, he saw an ordinary-looking cook who was looking at him curiously and a little nervously. Cui Zhe looked at Zhang Yi carefully. He had already read the examination report, which showed that there was no problem with this person's personal information. The cook from Huashu country, who traveled across the ocean to make money, was named Wu Yanzu. He was an incompetent man with ordinary looks, a greedy and lustful personality, and a guy who is blinded by money. Such a character perfectly meets their needs. Because a person who loves money usually does not pose much of a threat and will be loyal to whoever gives him money. I don't know why, but when Cui Zhe saw Zhang Yi for the first time, he felt uncomfortable. The feeling was somewhat subtle and made his body feel uncomfortable. That is the executioner's body instinct when he encounters a being more terrifying than himself after killing many people. But Zhang Yi concealed it too well, and Cui Zhe didn't think there would be any problems with KG's intelligence system. Is it because he is a chef and kills too many lives that I feel this way? Cui Zhe thought. Indeed, professions with too much blood on their hands usually give people a cold-blooded and ruthless impression. Butchers, chefs, and even doctors who perform surgery frequently. Cui Zhe walked up to Zhang Yi and extended his right hand towards him. I am Cui Zhe, captain of the personal guard of the commander-in-chief's residence. Thank you for preparing this sumptuous meal. The commander-in-chief was very happy after eating the meal you cooked. You are a hero of the country of KG. Zhang Yi quickly extended his hand and shook hands with him. When shaking hands, Cui Zhe exerted a little force, and Zhang Yi immediately pretended to be in pain and screamed. Ah! What are you doing? Cui Zhe silently withdrew his hand and smiled. Is the hand holding the knife so weak? Zhang Yi shook his hands and looked at Cui Zhe with dissatisfaction. The hand holding the knife cannot come into contact with wild beasts. Cui Zhe stared at Zhang Yi and smiled. The commander wants to see you. Tidy up your appearance and come with me. Zhang Yi thought to himself, everything is going more smoothly than I imagined. He washed his hands and face, put on his chef's clothes, and followed Cui Zhe to where Commander Shan was. Along the way, he fully demonstrated the nervousness, curiosity, and excitement of a small person after arriving at the temple. These are very easy for him, and he doesn't need to perform deliberately. After passing through the long corridor and the magnificent palace, they finally arrived at Commander Shaun's dining room. Chui Zhe brought Zhang Yi to a huge room. There were guards everywhere. In the middle of the restaurant, there was a long table that was at least 10 meters long. At the end of the long table sat the supreme commander of the Cage Kingdom, Commander Ken Shan. He is tall and has long golden hair that goes past his shoulders, but he is not black and looks like he is mixed race. Judging from his facial features, he looks more like someone from the Middle East. The table was filled with the dishes he had cooked. The guard beside him wore clean white gloves and held a bottle of Remy Martin cognac, which looked quite old. Zhang Yi looked up, then quickly lowered his head. Next, it's time to show your acting skills. You must not reveal any flaws, otherwise all your efforts will be in vain. Chui Zhe came in front of the commander. Commander, I have brought the chef here. The commander picked up the wine glass beside him, took a big sip, then looked up at Zhang Yi. He leaned back in his chair and asked in a somewhat rude voice, "Are you the chef who can cook Cantonese food? Are you from Eastern Guangdong?" He actually spoke fluent Chinese. Zhang Yi quickly said, "No, Commander. But I have been to Eastern Guangdong and did business there." "Oh, really?" The commander laughed. "I used to do business there, wholesale clothes from Eastern Guangdong, and sold them to my compatriots in Africa." Zhang Yi said, "I am also in the clothing business." "Then you must have been to the 13 factories in Eastern Guangdong." The commander laughed. "What a nostalgic name. I have indeed been to that place, but I have never wholesaled goods from there. Clothes sold to Africa can only be purchased from those small factories because they are cheap enough." Zhang Yi's face and accent proved that he was from Huashu country, and the commander felt much more relieved about him. Because what Commander Shan is most wary of right now are several European countries in the north. He would not think that there would be anyone in Huashu country on the other side of the earth who would do something bad to him. In addition, their experience of having been in Eastern Guangdong together made the commander feel somewhat close to him. He pointed at the food on the table and said, "The food you cook is not bad, but not top-notch. When I was in Eastern Guangdong 10 years ago, I had the best food there." He became picky. "Of course, Zhang Yi has a way to explain it. Commander, times have changed now. It's hard to get fresh ingredients, and most of them are frozen and canned. When it comes to cooking skills, Wu Yanzu, am the best in Eastern Guangdong." He deliberately acted arrogant, as if a second-rate chef was trying hard to prove how great he was. This made Commander Shan laugh. "Alas, times have changed. It is indeed difficult to eat authentic Cantonese cuisine." "Well, but your cooking skills are pretty good. Stay and cook for me from now on," he said proudly. A look of hesitation immediately appeared on Zhang Yi's face. This. Chui Zhe glanced at him and said, "It's your honor to cook for the commander. I will definitely not treat you unfairly in terms of compensation." Zhang Yi's eyes flashed with a gleam, and he swallowed and asked, "How much can you give me?" The common currency in Cage country today is the material exchange voucher. After all, in an era of material shortages, everything is supplied by ticket, which is in line with the current social situation. Chui Zhe said, "Every month, the basic supplies you get are 500 kilograms of rice, 30 kilograms of meat, and 2 boxes of canned vegetables. If you do well, you will get rewards. In addition, the country will allocate you a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room house in Pilasang for you to live in." This salary level is already quite high because in Africa, where supplies are scarce, ordinary people simply cannot get rice. After listening to this, Zhang Yi showed a satisfied expression. At this time, the commander spoke. He pointed at Chui Zhe and said, "How can this be enough? A man will feel lonely if there is no woman by his side. Assign him another woman," he said angrily. "Men will make mistakes because of women. My previous chef was like this. He betrayed me for a woman. I really don't know what's going on in his mind. By the way, Chui Zhe, where did Xian Haishou go? Did you find him?" Chui Zhe came back to his senses, nodded and said, "Commander, there is no news of him yet. It is very likely that he is frozen to death in the snow and ice. Without your protection, Commander, He is just an insignificant little person. Death is the ending he deserves. The commander said disapprovingly, "This is the end of being ungrateful." In the shadow space, Xian Haixio's face was terribly ugly and his whole body was trembling. He clenched his fists. But soon he heard something else that made him almost unable to control himself. "What should I do with my wife? Are you going to continue enjoying her?" The commander leaned back in his chair, thought lazily, and then sighed. Her husband is dead, and she has become an ordinary woman, which is very boring. Send her to the farms around Prisang, let her participate in labor and redeem herself. Xian Haixio's eyes almost popped out. Chengmei, Chengmei. He covered his head with his hands, his face full of pain. Seeing this, Zhou Kur asked with concern, "Are you okay? Please don't worry too much. We will help you rescue the people as agreed." Xian Haixio covered his head in pain. "But you don't know how bad the environment of those farms is. Chang Mei will die if she goes there." Zhou Kur was silent for a moment and said, "But at least she is not with Commander Shan. It will be easier to save her, isn't it? What you have to do now is to help us complete the mission with all your strength. We promise to take you home. Go home." Xian Haixio raised his head, tears in his eyes. God knows how excited these two words are to him now. "Yes, I want to go home. I want to take Chengmei back to Huashu country with me. Even if we die, we don't want to die in a foreign country." In the restaurant, Zhang Yi acted like he was very satisfied with the treatment he received from the chef. But soon, when Commander Shan had someone bring in a girl who looked like dark chocolate, his expression changed a little. "This will be your wife from now on. You must cherish your life here and devote everything to serving the commander." Cui Zhe said to Zhang Yi, "The power of faith has been explained to us by the master of the underworld before. As long as the most devout believers make a wish in their hearts and concentrate a large amount of weak power on one person, it will produce a powerful effect. So killing one person is equivalent to killing the power of 10,000 people." A hint of thought flashed in her eyes. Perhaps this represents the status quo of the future. In wars between races, the winners are determined by the top mutants who concentrate all the resources of the race. If the top mutants are defeated, the entire race will be destroyed. If 10,000 people survive, one person cannot escape. In fact, if one person dies, 10,000 people will not have a good ending. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.